Friday prayers at Beijing's most famous mosque. It may not match the majesty of Mecca, but this is still the most important place of Islamic worship in the Chinese capital. More than 12,000 Chinese Muslims made their way to Saudi Arabia to take part in this year's Hajj, the world's biggest pilgrimage. Many of the Beijing Muslims who couldn't make it to Mecca came here, or to the more than 50 other mosques scattered across the city. I'm inside Niujie Mosque. It's the oldest mosque in Beijing, and it's a focal point for the capital's Muslim community. Like other mosques across China, there are restrictions on this one. It has to be registered with the state, and the appointment of the imam has to be vetted by government officials. But despite those restrictions, people from across the capital flock here every week for Friday prayers.
My family, my whole family, Muslim. So my father, my mother, grandfather, grandmother. And now in China, more and more Muslim. Lots of my friends, before they are not Muslim, but now they're Muslim.
Chinese Muslims aren't technically allowed to attend the mosque before they're 18, though some parents clearly turn a blind eye to that law. The only Qurans allowed are those sanctioned by the state, and teaching the holy book in private is banned. Making the trip to Mecca is also controlled. Chinese Muslims have to join a tour if they want to take part in the pilgrimage. But Xia Zongping, a professor of Islamic studies at Peking University and a practicing Muslim himself, says life for China's Muslims is improving. He points to the growing number of mosques being built across the country. That includes women-only mosques and even female imams, rare in many parts of the Muslim world. There's also been a growth in the number of Islamic groups in the country.
The Cultural Revolution was disastrous for all religions in China. Islam was badly affected during that time. But since reform and opening up in 1978, things have improved.
Islam has a long history in China, dating as far back as the year 650, when the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad was said to have been sent as an official envoy to the Chinese emperor. Islam's influence can still be seen in many towns and cities across China, and Professor Xia says the religion is now seeing a revival.
In southeastern China, there has been a religious revival as the economy, society and education have developed. In the northwest of the country, people practice a more traditional form of Islam.
The government says there are now 23 million Muslims in China. Professor Xia says that number is increasing, but adds that the government statistics are unreliable. In China, it's your ethnic group that defines whether or not you're a Muslim, so all members of the Hui minority are considered Muslim, even though some Hui are not Muslims and some Han are Muslims.
The policy regarding Han Muslims should be adjusted. For example, whether or not someone can be buried in a Muslim cemetery depends on their ethnic identity. Under the current laws, it's unclear if a Han Muslim can be buried in a Muslim cemetery. Many places in the south of China, including Shanghai, have come across this problem.
China's policy of restricting access to places of worship to those under the age of 18 has come under fire in the West. But Professor Xia says it's a law he supports.
Children and teenagers haven't formed their view of the world and of life. If we force them to believe in a religion at a young age, they don't get the freedom to choose. I think it makes sense to allow them to grow up first and then give them the freedom to choose whichever religion they like.
Of course, not everyone agrees with that. Ya Mohammed, an ethnic Uyghur and IT student at the Communication University of China, feels there's a lack of freedom.
Things aren't so open here. The fact that we're only allowed to pray in the mosque from the age of 18 is an example of that.
Rayela, also an ethnic Uyghur and an 18-year-old journalism student who goes by one name, says the biggest problem she's faced is ignorance.
I've no time, no space to pray. If I do it in the dormitory, my roommates might think I'm strange. My classmates ask me questions like, why do you believe in religion?
Rayela's experience is of course her own, but her struggle to keep true to her religion in a country gripped by change echoes that of many of China's young Muslim population.
My grandparents are very devout Muslims, and they hope I can be the same, but I can't follow their wishes. I love them and I would like to obey them, but I am a student and I'm under a lot of pressure to study. I have to study science and sometimes science clash with religion. This is the era I'm living in and I have to fit in with society.
Tom Mackenzie, BON.